This is Tobias from Ghost. You're watching Overdrive, the home of heavy music.
Welcome back to Overdrive. I am very, very pleased to be joined by Stu from Spiritworld. We're going to talk about the new Helldorado album. Stu, pleasure to have you, man. How's things?
It's good, man. It's 8:30 in the morning, having a cup of coffee, just haven't been this excited for a Friday since last Friday, you know what I mean?
Excellent. Excellent. Well, the topic of conversation is absolutely going to be about this album. It is absolutely just a complete face melter. I was telling some people earlier on today about it. And I figured it's the best place to start. Obviously, it's the third album from Spirit World's journey, I suppose, evolving universe, if you like. And a very cliche question to start off with, but what was the kind of driving vision behind this record compared to Death Western and Pagan Rhythms? Was there anything in particular?
I think the main thing is just like the band has a lot of momentum and we just have been doing a ton of cool stuff really since I put out Pagan Rhythms. And so kind of the inspiration is it's changed from just being me having the idea to make a couple records kind of selfishly just for me to now this thing, the dreams and the goals are all, there's pretty much no ceiling. And it's every time I think we just did the coolest thing ever, then we'd go do something else, like we're fixing to go do a tour for like 5 6 weeks with Obituary Nails, all beautiful rooms with our friends in Terror. Like that stuff, I can't wait. So the records to me, it's like I'm picking up a guitar and playing stuff every day anyways. And so I like, because we have so much momentum, I just feel this like maybe an extra bit of like, let's pick up the guitar and let's like really push it and try and write some stuff that, I mean, it's all self-imposed, but I feel like I'm hitting my stride with songwriting and kind of arrangements and composition in a way that I just feel really inspired and really stoked to make music. Like right now, I'm writing a new record, and I'm like in the midst of doing all the press and gearing up to tour and put out a record. It's like really good energy, a lot of great songs coming out. So I don't
See,
know, I just love it. It's just fun, man.
but I can definitely hear, and this is just my opinion, but it's like you were trying and experimenting with different things, but it just really feels like you are just in the groove with what the kind of thought process was for Spirit World with this album. It just sounds so together. Did it feel that way to you when you were writing it? Because I understand am I right by saying that you kind of took a year off from playing shows and um, you just kind of just concentrated primarily on focusing on this album for the guts of a year? Is that right?
Sort of. I mean, we didn't tour for a year. We did a couple one-off shows, but it wasn't like, because I work for a living, so it's not like I'm just sitting here all day, like playing guitar, working on this album. That would be a gross overstatement, but it's more of because we didn't tour and I knew I was writing this, I took a little bit more time of when I had space where I could sit for a couple days and really focus and write, then I was able to revisit some things. And so I think I just, because I had a longer stretch, I went in and started recording. And then I had most of the record done, but then the last, maybe like Oblivion, Prayer Lips, there was a few songs that like just, those were the last things I did. And because we had that year off, like I started working on the record in November, and then I went back at the beginning of the year. I had a couple months off, and so then I reworked a bunch of stuff and kind of redid a bunch of, just kind of
Yeah.
fine tuning things and having a little bit of time to sit with it and process and be like, this is working. And then working with our producer, Sam Pura, gave us a lot of time to really explore some things and,
Did
we're
did
done.
you have that, I want to say, luxury of time between Pagan Rhythms and Death Western? Was it kind of like immediate, or was it similar to this, that you had a bit of, you kind of just took a step back and
I don't really throw a lot of songs away, so I've just been writing these albums and kind of like my process when I did Pagan Rhythms, I sat down and I was just like crafted an album and I listen to records, so I like a side A and a side B and I try and have a certain like flow to it where I can rock a whole album.
yeah,
And so I typically just sit down and write the record and then when it's done, and it's been pretty fast like bursts of, you know, when I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, this is badass. Get it done. Get all the demos done, like the pre-pro side, and then I go in and record. So it's two separate events, really, the writing versus
right,
the tracking. And so I think Helldorado definitely was longer because I wrote most of it, but then I went back and like Death Western, I did not have that luxury. Like
right,
I wrote those two records and like they were done, and where I was like, oh, I should try and do some other stuff. It was kind of the train had left the station, you know. We'd already recorded a bunch of tracks, and so it would have been like restarting. You know what I mean? So definitely on this one, I think I had that luxury, and that's why I've been writing whatever the next step's going to be. I've just been stockpiling because I like whenever the muse strikes and is speaking to me. I think it's important, especially doing different styles of music and incorporating different
absolutely.
things. It's a lot more difficult to make things flow because you have like the dynamics are pretty wild on Helldorado. Like
Oh,
there's songs, if
absolutely.
you were to grab it and just send it to somebody and say, there's a new Spiritworld, they could be like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But if you listen to the record, it works.
it
And
all makes
so,
sense.
yeah, so
Yeah.
to me, it's like I want to give myself space. Like I just bought a lap steel guitar that I've been loving playing. And so things like that are going to probably show up on this next batch of songs, but it's like I don't have the vision yet of what it's gonna be. So I want to like write cool stuff, and then if it fits, be able to look back and be like, oh, where's that thing I worked on
Mm.
12 weeks ago that more so than sitting and just saying, okay, I'm gonna write a record, and usually it's done in
Yeah.
less than a month type thing.
Were there any, I suppose, specific risks or any kind of unconventional elements that you incorporated into this that even surprised you?
Not so much surprised me, but more so in the way that it all worked on the album. Because when I started the album, I wanted to push it and do some more things, but I really did not I wouldn't have put out this record if I didn't think the songs that go into more roots music styles really worked and served the album. And so I have a ton of material like that I like, that I haven't put out. So I feel a little guilty because I have all these little babies of mine that I'm not putting out into the world. But so when I was writing this one, when I did Abilene Grime and like that song came together, I was like, well, that opens a door now. That can be track one. And because it has a snare beat and I'm playing an acoustic guitar, now we can I can totally put in some other stuff and it'll probably work. So it wasn't so much a surprise of the instruments or anything. It was more a surprise of making it cohesive and really being confident that this works and I love it. And the dudes in the band that I share these demos with are like, oh yeah, this is the shit, bro. Hell yeah.
I'm going to talk about the collabs on the album. We have, I'm going to screw this guy's name up, from Black Braid. Sag, is
Yeah.
Sag? Zach from Rise Against, Frederick from Creator. How did that come about? Did you have, I mean, obviously I know how it comes about, you reach out to them, but did you kind of have this kind of thunderbolt lightning of, oh my God, this would be perfect for, say Zach, or this would be perfect, or did it just sort of organically happen by default in some kind of way?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both because
Right.
like there were parts, our lead guitar player, Randy Moore, is playing in a right before we toured with Creator, he got on playing rhythm guitar in a really huge like arena rock band that, he's got to be somewhat anonymous. And so that put us in the position where like for this record, he came in and cut lead guitar solos on most of the album, but then there was a few that like I didn't have them ready. You know, the song wasn't even ready to have a solo. So then I had these gaps of so the roadmap was there. It's like I need to get some guitar solos, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that because we had just toured with Sepultura and Creator, Fred was an easy ask because we're like, hey, you want to, rip a shreddy solo on this song? And then he had just got home from like a Europe tour and was getting ready to move and was like, I'm rushed on time. I'll see what I can do. And made it sound, like he was gonna slap something together. And then he sends you over this like absolutely insane, perfect solo that would take me a year to even, butcher. And he just like sends it. And I'm like, dude, this is incredible. Just what I wanted. Amazing. So like that is just like you meet people and bands you've looked up to. They're super cool. And like how nice is that, just and then with Black Braid, I love Black Braid, and that
Yeah.
was a thing where I intentionally like I was picturing what he could do on that part. And our guitar player did a solo on the last Black Braid record on Black Braid 2,
Oh,
our
okay.
song.
Right.
And so John had reached out to me and was like, "Yo, I love Death Western," and I haven't even met him in person. It's just all been through
Wow.
him saying he loved my band, and then our guitar player helping him with his record. And so then I just reached out and was like, "Hey, I've got this whole stretch. Here's the lyrics I have. Like, here's a rough idea. See if you can do something." And so then he sent me back his vocal. So it's like it's all of the above, It's like one throwing a hand up and being like, I don't care about tagging bands or like I write so much of this stuff that I kind of feel like anytime I can collaborate, like I'm not threatened to have somebody else shine on one of my songs. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And stuff like having Zach from Rise Against, like it's just badass. Like I've seen Rise Against so many times, like it's not even funny. Like my old lady's little sister like has a giant like Rise Against tattoo and like I followed that band since their like first record.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff it's like most people probably think Rise Against pop punk, maybe not pop punk, but whatever they think rock band stuff. Probably don't know that Zach played in Guar and is a fucking shredder. So to me, it's cool to have
Well, yeah, just
like Spirit World Rise Against Black Braid on a song. On paper, it may sound weird, but I think if you listen to the song and you didn't know who was in it, like I think it's awesome. I love that song. And I think about bands all the time because we're in the spot where we need to start doing some headliners and
yeah.
do some things. And not that I'm not over the moon thrilled to go support Obituary and Nails, but it's like you get to the point with your band where we get that feedback a lot because we all work for a living and like we're not on the road all the time. So normally when a band gets to our spot, momentum wise, they all, you can't even keep a job because you go take a 6 week tour and we're all kind of a little older and grown ass dudes that have built our life to be able to actually do a band, on our own terms. And so I think part of it is like we're not going out. We haven't played like LA 8 times in the last 2 years. We haven't played Texas. We only go out a couple times a year and like the feedback I get, people are like, we want to see you like headline. And with the stuff that we're playing now, like on this tour, it's going to be us just playing like whatever we can fit in 6, 7, just ass beater, super heavy songs, lean to our thrash, like hard stuff. But when we do a headliner, like I want it to be as dynamic as these albums I'm writing, where there'll be really aggressive parts of the set, but then also come out with an acoustic and, play like do everything that I'm working on these records. And so that's not going to be easy to do, right? You got to have different amp setups and it's got to be good. Like I'm a
Oh,
psycho.
absolutely.
I can't do anything half-assed. So to me, I'm like the, like that level of, I want to present the live thing of what this band is. And we're going to be one of them bands that there's not going to be two bands doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? It's like Spiritworld, our headliner shows. we're a one of one. And so bands like Black Braid and things, like I think we won't fit in with anybody, but because of that, I don't think it would be weird to play with like a black metal band or
Yeah.
go out and play shows with like, all kinds of cool stuff.
You understand the importance of staying very genuine and following your instincts because you have this vision, and it is playing out before us all now, and it's absolutely awesome. Um, but a lot of people just kind of may not understand what the fuck are these guys doing. Oh my god, and you get this
Yeah.
sort of. Do you have you ever felt that like a kind of a heavy pushback from the metal or punk or hardcore communities that just didn't quite understand what you were trying to do?
Yeah, I mean we do a lot, and it just depends on the person. Like I get it from all walks of life. Like I grew up in the hardcore scene, and so I'll have friends of mine that are, deeply rooted, kind of hardcore elite guys in America that, be like, oh, fucking heavy metal guy or whatever. And it's almost like
Bill.
and I know what they mean, but to me, like even though I've spent so much time in all these different scenes, like going to Vegas rockabilly shows and going to tons and tons of country shows. So yes, I'm like a fan and a part of these scenes. I don't want to be in a band that, because I've seen so many bands that like they may be the best of that little thing, but they're stuck there. And when I had the idea to do a serious band, one of my goals was to be a band that can like do whatever I want. That is very like inspiring to me. And that's important to me, to not be like after Pagan Rhythms and Death Western, like a lot of people, even people we work with on our team, when I sent over Helldorado, were like, sounds like two different bands. Like I'm not really tracking. And so those things, you just got to be thick-skinned and have confidence in what you're doing, because
Yeah,
that one comment can get in your ear. And if you're not like psychotically devoted to your vision, like that one thing by somebody you really like and respect can make you go back and be like, what am I doing? Like
yeah.
he's right. Like Death Western has like, oh my God, I got like 6, 7 million plays, and like, am I fucking this up by really trying to do something? You know what I mean? So
I
that
know
kind of
exactly
stuff,
what you mean. Yeah.
that stuff, I think I like have a shield and armor from a little bit, because one, I work for a living, and so the band and the money that it generates and those type of things are not important to me, because what's the risk? I can do whatever the fuck I want. I don't need a record label. I have a record label that I like, but I don't need any of these things to make art. And if it's not like working on the commerce side, it's a success for me to make the art I want. And so if it doesn't work on the commerce side, I'm still paying my rent. So like I don't give a shit. Whereas a band who all quits their jobs, and maybe if they blow a record and nobody goes to their shows, like they may ruin, relationships
Yeah.
and kind of their life. So I have that, and then also like I want to be my favorite band. And so I always go back to that. And I have a few close friends and family that when I'm writing music and the things that don't work, that never people ever hear, there's only a handful of us that hear it. And then those convos where I'm like, I don't know. One person will like it and be like, I love it. And I'm like, it's just not ready. Like this kind of doesn't work for me. And so like those things, I have a really tight circle. I trust my gut, and I don't open that up to people. Like I don't send songs to my A&R guy and my booking agent and manager, like nobody but me, and then my very small clique that I share ideas with in a vacuum. Nobody gets input, because I just can't. The band I want to be, like, I don't want to be what you think I should play. And not from like an ego thing. It's just, no offense. It took me so much energy to kind of get a project that I can be proud of, that like really speaks to my soul and who I am and what I want to do, that I don't really have room or energy to, you know what I mean, cater to somebody else's, like who's just bopping in and being like, oh, I listened to your demo one time, you've worked on this stuff for 6 months, here's my off the top of the dome, critique of your work. Like I got to handpick who plays in Spiritworld and handpick everything I do. So my older brother plays bass live. One of my best friends is playing guitar. And like we all live and all work basically in construction and have really busy lives. So we actually don't have the time to hang out. So like I carve out the time to create this stuff, but part of me is like, if I could get this over the hump to the point where it really takes off, where we don't have to, work so hard, boy, it would be fucking, I couldn't imagine going to like a destination studio with my best friends and like, you know what I mean? Like go live that dream of like, we're not going to do shit, but sit here and just like geek out and like chase the energy of
Mm.
creativity.
What is next for Spiritworld? I mean, can we expect, more videos, more singles, a tour? Is there a possibility of coming over to this part of the world, European jaunt, maybe summer festivals? You don't have to divulge in anything that you're not allowed to say, but even just suggesting that it's a
Yeah.
possibility would be cool.
Doing a big US tour. And then, what are we doing in the fall? In September, we're going to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to get back to Europe. And I think basically like I have the rhythm going where it's like, to me, consistently putting out art is very important. So like from when I get excited about making something to when it comes out, that is too long for me. And in this streaming age of like you could put out the best record ever and it's really only going to live for a few months before there's a million records that come out. So I'm trying to, that's one thing that I want to sort out with like the game plan of this band is the next 3 to 5 years, how do I solve for that problem? And then also, we need to get back to Europe and do shows. We need to do headliners. I just want to show people what we do. And in my mind, like, I want to have a big stage design and I want to transport people into this Western horror world and have like a completely just one of one experience. And I realize that we've got a long mountain to climb, because you gotta one get a big enough room and people there and like basically headline festivals. But that's like the goal. That's where I'm headed. And I think the easiest way to get there is undeniably good art that comes out consistently.
Listen, Stu, with that being said, man, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, listen, congratulations on this album. It is a totally fucking badass album. Yeah, let's see you conquer the world after this, one step at a time, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Take it easy.